a lot of war films, show the very exciting tip of the iceberg being the combat, but there's a hell of a lot more layers, beneath. And I was really interested in exploring a bit of that.
Anthony, it is a joy to speak with you. Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Ah, thank you, Steve. It's good to be with you.
Honestly, Pressure is a very special film. I did not know this story. I had not heard the story of Dr. James Stagg, and I've never seen a film where meteorologists take on the role of heroes, especially in World War II.
Yep.
How did you come to be a part of the story? Why did you want to tell it?
Sometimes you don't know why you just love things, and I just loved it from the get-go. I thought it was a really powerful story. I think more than anything, what really intrigued me about it was this idea of one decision.
Mm.
This one monumental decision these characters had to make, and we just spend the next 3 days watching them slowly go insane as they try and make it. And even though it's set back then, I think it's very relevant to what's going on in the world today, and kind of always will. In that, at its heart, it asks the question: How do you bring your best self to the table when you've got a life-changing decision to make? Now, in this case, it was to launch the biggest invasion in history, but really, it's about when you've got when you're at a crossroads where you don't have all the answers, where uncertainty is everywhere. How do you choose? Who do you trust? How do you bring yourself to that decision? And I thought there was something very universal in that, and something in this idea of a man standing up and telling people what he knows they don't want to hear, but he knows what they should hear. In this case, there was a storm approaching, and all your men are going to die if you don't listen to me. And the sort of pathos and the dread that comes with being the canary in the coal mine, but no one can really hear you sing because they don't want to believe what he has to say. And I think there's an inherent drama in that I wanted to explore. So that was the first impulse. So yeah.
Well, I this is one of the things that it really strikes me about this. I mean, we've seen lots of World War II films, obviously, over the years, but this is one of those rare instances where the war isn't the main thing. We have scenes of D-Day as the court, no spoilers, but we do. But really, the film is decided in the boardroom, if you will, and there's this idea of a new kind of heroism
Mm, mm.
with embedded within this script. I was wondering if you could talk about that because this is certainly a type of hero we've never seen before.
What you've touched on, to be honest, I found looking back is something I've always been attracted to. With my previous film, Hotel Mumbai, what attracted me most about that film was you had these characters who were heroes despite never firing a shot, never throwing a punch. They were protectors and they were running from room to room. With Pressure, um, it is it is a different type of heroism than perhaps we're used to seeing on screen, but in some ways, I think it's as old as time. Like if you go back through history, and if you look at the history of warfare in particular, you go back to Alexander the Great's father, let's say, Philip of Macedon. I'm Greek background, so I know a little bit more about this sort of stuff, than maybe other figures. They spent as many resources on siege engineers and logisticians to move their armies as they did, training their soldiers to fight. And whilst it can be very dramatic and very exciting to see the swashbucklers, there's other things going on beneath the surface. And in a weird way, it may be drawing a long bow. But when you look at filmmaking, for instance, it's not just what happens in the battle when you're shooting. A lot of it is decided in pre-production in terms of how you set the stage in order to do well once you're on the stage. And a lot of war films show the very exciting tip of the iceberg being the combat, but there's a hell of a lot more layers, beneath. And I was really interested in exploring a bit of that. There's no force in this world bigger than nature, but it's invisible to us because it's always there and it's always present. And to have a character who can kind of look into it, not in a spooky kind of mystical way, but in a very human way, in a very real way, where he's saying nature is the most powerful thing there is. If we don't respect it, we're going to get crushed by it. And he has the humility often to say, I don't know, or I'm not certain, but let me try and find out. And I think that that is, the world could use more of that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can say with certainty that Pressure is a great film. And I really appreciate the chance to chat with you about it. Thank you so much, Anthony. Have a great day.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks so much.